Okay, so today we're going to do the first step in writing a great text analysis on the story Good. And the first step is to come up with the central idea. What's the central idea? Central idea is the comment on life or humanity that the story makes. And it also happens to be the focus of our first paragraph in a text analysis. Some things to keep in mind. I think when coming up with a central idea, a lot of people have great difficulty because they believe that it's their job to figure out what the author had in mind. Now, look, I'm sure that the author had a central idea in mind when they sat down to start writing. But author's intention, to be honest, it doesn't matter. What matters is what you get out of the story. As long as you come up with a central idea that can make sense and you could defend it and bring evidence to show where you got your idea from, you're good to go. Like last week when we were doing that work with internal conflict, I don't know if you noticed, but when you got to the part where you express that universally, you know what you could have used those for? Central ideas of those texts. Okay? So, if you're having trouble coming up with a central idea, look for the internal conflict. There will be something there. And remember that author's intent doesn't matter. It's what you get out of the story. Like if we're looking back at last week's internal conflict work, the universal statement that I came up with for Montag's internal conflict in Fahrenheit 451, I wrote, at some point everyone questions their own beliefs. And there is so much evidence from that novel that I could use to defend that statement. Now, do I think that that's what Ray Bradbury had in mind when he sat down and started writing Fahrenheit 451? I don't. I think he had more of a knowledge is power type idea. Now, does this mean that at some point everyone questions their own beliefs and knowledge is power could both be central ideas? Yeah, either one of those could be a central idea. And there's plenty more. And of course, you're going to phrase that central idea in such a way that it is universal, can be applied to anybody. Side note, on the doc that goes with this video, there's a little quiz. I give you 2 sample central idea statements. I want you to highlight the one that is universal. All right, the one that is 2 book specific, leave it alone. Highlight the one that is universal. Also on the doc provided for you in Schoology, there's a spot that's I'm throwing out some single words that might help you come up with a central idea for that short story Good. Words like choice or consequences, relationships, justice, courage. Now, please keep in mind, a central idea is not one word. All right, you can't tell me that the central idea of Good was choice. It's not enough. It's just not. What is the story saying about choice? And that's only one of the many, many options available to you. Remember, if it makes sense and you could back it up, it's legit. So if we use that method of discovering a central idea by focusing on the internal conflict, and let's say we were writing a text analysis on junk life. Did you notice in junk life, that guy hated his job, hated it, but why did he go back every day? Why did he just quit? He's got responsibilities, all right? So if my central idea said something along the lines of the central idea is you got to work crappy jobs when you got a kid and a moms to support, that's too story specific. But I think we've all been in the situation where we have to do something that we're not necessarily a big fan of just to fulfill the responsibilities that we have as human beings. It's something that we all have to do. For some of you, it might even be this class. If you're not a fan of English class, but you're putting the work in just to make sure you get credit, well, then you're like in the same boat as the guy in junk life. Internal conflict, central ideas. All right, so the last thing I'm going to need you to do on that doc in Schoology is to write down your central idea for the short story good. Keep in mind, the central idea statement that you come up today, yeah, you should be using it when we sit down and put together the full essay. It's almost like you're writing some of it now. Don't be afraid to spend some time thinking. There's no rush. I mean, look how much time we got left in class already. This video isn't really all that long. Take some time to think. Or take some time to read over the story if you need to. Or look back on the work we did in text analysis back in quarter 2. We worked with Swamp Monsters Make Bad Housewives. All that stuff is still in Schoology if you want to click on it, take a look at your previous work. Whether it's when we highlighted the different sections of the text analysis that I did for St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves, or if you want to go back and look what you submitted for the Swamp Monsters Make Terrible Housewives text analysis, you'll be able to see another example of your central idea in that paragraph, because it's stuff we've already done. We're just doing it again because practice makes perfect, or if not perfect, better. All right, I think that's going to be it for me. I'm giving you a lot of time to think, kick around ideas and that kind of thing. Keep track of this work. Make your lives easier later on. All right, Mr. C's out.